Brian Westbrook with GeekWire Studios here at AWS Marketplace Seller Conference, joined by the Managing Director of Technology Partnerships, Grusz. Chris, first of all, great to see you again. Yep. What is new and exciting since we talked last year?
Yeah, lots of new and exciting things. So as a whole, AWS has really been investing kind of in this generative AI space. And so you've seen a number of things that we've launched with things like Bedrock and how we're providing foundational models. And the newest extension to that is really what we're doing with agents. And so at New York Summit, we announced our agent marketplace. And this really coincides with what we're doing with Amazon Bedrock Agent Core, which is our framework on how we're building agents. And so Amazon Bedrock Agent Core is an offering for our partners and our customers to do everything that they need to do from an agentic perspective. So if they need to build an agent, they need the runtime, they need the identity components, how to interface with memory, all the things that kind of go underneath the hood of building an agent. Agent Core provides for our customers. And AWS Marketplace is then the way that you can start to monetize that. And we interface with Agent Core, just a couple lines of code, and you can actually pull agents out of our marketplace and use within the Agent Core framework. And that's been a big focus area for us. The agent adoption has really kind of taken off in a very material way, and we're really excited about that.
Dive in a little bit deeper with some of the success stories. Give us an example of maybe a customer or two that has been using this new technology, the new Bedrock, if you will, to build and give their customers better products, better services.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, we look at agents, it's the next form factor for how our customers want to consume technology. So if you kind of look at the life kind of span of Marketplace, we start off with Amazon Machine Images, we then move to SaaS, we then move to containers, and then data sets and professional services and algorithms and models. And the newest form factor is the agent. Right. And as you think about how people were adopting SaaS, they're now looking at adopting agents in that same way. And it's providing all kinds of really cool use cases. One of our launch partners for the agent marketplace was Accenture. Yeah. And it's this is a really kind of cool phenomenon because these GSIs have tons of IP and they haven't really been able to necessarily monetize that in a repeatable fashion. We'll do it kind of on an engagement by engagement basis. And agents are now allowing them to actually package that up and distribute that. And so one of the agents that they launched in our agent marketplace is a procurement agent. Yeah. And that takes all kinds of components that a customer does to actually do procurement and breaks that down and provides that function into an agentic format. And so we're starting to see some good adoption for those types of things. And we're seeing other places that people are using agents, like Presidio is using agents to do better code conversion and generation. And so customers are quickly adopting this because it's just an easier way to interface with the technology. Like the old school method of going through kind of an interface and browsing through tabs and trying to find what you're looking for and you're kind of hunting, exactly. Mm-hmm. That's old school. And now the new way is really interfacing with technology in this natural language format. And that's what agents provide. And that's where we're starting to see all kinds of really cool customer adoption.
And it's not even the technology, it's not just the technology that you're providing to the customers, but it's also the technology that AWS Marketplace is using itself.
Correct.
Tell us about how agents are appearing in the marketplace.
Yeah, we drink our own champagne is the term we refer to. And so what I mean by that is if you look at something as simple as the Marketplace Catalog Operations team, this is a team that handles all of the inbound requests for anything that happens with your marketplace listing. Mm-hmm. So if you're a seller and you want to update your listing, you want to update the logo, or you want to change your pricing, or I have a question on which SaaS API to use, that would all come in historically into a queue, it goes into a ticket, and then based off of SLAs of the seller, it gets routed to a human. Mm-hmm. And on average, we had roughly 7,000 tickets in that queue any given week. What we then did is we took our entire knowledge base, we loaded it into an agentic offering. We use Anthropic as the foundational model behind that. And it now actually looks at that ticket as it comes in and it automatically reads that question and then provides a formulated response. And we still have a human that looks at that and says, is this good? And they can tweak it or hit send. But within the first few weeks of launching this, we took that 7,000 ticket queue down to 0. Mm. And so now we've been able to take those operators and do much higher level functions. And now they can do more advanced things versus like, I'm going to answer the same question for the 1,000th time. And so we use it there. We use it within Amazon Partner Network. So we have a process called a field technical review. Right. And that's where our partners have to submit their technical documentation to AWS to get validated for all of our different programs. And same kind of process. They submit a whole bunch of paperwork. In that example, we actually have solution architects, which are high-priced people reviewing these packets. and they're going through, and it's very kind of rinse and repeat. But it's an onerous process, so each one of these can take hours. And we're now shaving that down, so now it's just a couple minute process. Same kind of thing, the foundational model agent will read that packet, provide an initial response, or here's the things to look at, and so now the SA can get through these reviews far faster. And that means that we can revalidate our partners faster, we can support more partners. So, those are just a couple top of mind examples, and we're going to continue to do that. We're building in more and more generative AI capabilities and chatbot functions into Marketplace, just for our search and product comparisons, so things that our buyers really benefit from. So we're just scratching the, kind of the surface right now, and we feel all kinds of awesome use cases that are going to use agents just within our own marketplace.
And when you take those agents that you're using within your own marketplace and you help the customers selling on AWS Marketplace, what are you sharing with them? Yeah. What are you telling them? How are you motivating them?
Yeah. From a customer perspective, what they like is it's just an easier way to get their hands on technology. Right. If you kind of take a step back and say, how are we operating in a world pre-marketplace? And they had a lot of different processes that they go through. Getting the code would be typically like, okay, go to this Git repository and download this, and what's the security concern with that? And so a lot of these things that people, I think, took for granted for a lot of years now are really streamlined by virtue of using a marketplace. And so when we talk to our customers, they'll tell us, on average, it's easier to onboard a new ISV by 75%.
Yeah, great.
Oftentimes they have to, they'll look at technology and say, okay, we like it, but here's a packet you got to fill out. Mm-hmm. It's got 200 questions, and there's this back and forth, and we've automated that through things like vendor insights. We have a standardized contract through Marketplace for the legal terms. So now our legal teams are looking at saying, wait a second, I've looked at these terms for one ISV, and now applies for half this catalog. And so the legal teams for our customers just love that, because that's the last thing they want is, again, high-priced attorneys reading through boilerplate EULAs, and we streamline all that. And so all of that kind of adds together in terms of great ROI for our customers. We'll see, 300, 400% ROI just by using Marketplace, because it's so much easier to get your hands on technology and deploy that, and then they can get to production far faster.
And Chris, one of the topics you brought up at the keynote and really is become a bit of a theme, in addition to AI, which is pretty straightforward, product-led growth. Yes. Walk us through that and tell us why it's important.
Yeah, and so it's interesting. When we launched private offers 6 years ago, and we were the first marketplace to do that, everyone really jumped on that bandwagon. It was a great way to do these big deals, and we quickly gravitated to the large deals. And as we've streamlined that, we've kind of taken a look at our business, and we said, well, wait a second, what happened to the smaller self-service transactions? When we went back to our machine image days, it was all self-service, and it was a great way to generate new logos, and it was all integrated in. And so you had this kind of built-in PLG motion for our machine images, and we didn't have that as much with SaaS. And so with our engineering team underneath Matt Yanchishin, we've really focused on how do we streamline how people bring SaaS into their accounts. And so there's all kinds of things that we do in terms of streamlining subscription, how they streamline the deployment, and that makes it easier for a customer. And if you make it very seamless, and that that third-party product starts to look and feel more like a first-party service with AWS, that means we can do better product-led growth initiatives. Now we're doing campaigns where customers, instead of a call to action of, okay, we're going to submit this and someone will follow up, instead they get their hands on the technology, they try it, they move to a pay-as-you-go subscription, and then that becomes the new lead. We're no longer talking about SQLs or MQLs, we're talking about new customers. And now our sellers can take that new customer, and then they can start their land and expand motion. And so we really feel that PLG starts to feed that sales-led growth motion. So we're generating new business on one side with a product-led growth motion that then feeds these big private offers of tomorrow.
That's fantastic. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, what's next? What's coming up? What are you excited about?
Yeah, and so some of the things that we're looking at on the horizon is, how do we start to string all these things together, right? So one of the things that we're seeing with agents is, the predominant way that people are deploying agents into a production matter is through a kind of a collection of agents, right? So if you think about what people first started, is they tried to build everything into a monolithic agent, right? And it's like, hey, here's your loan origination agent. Yeah. And instead they're saying, wait, maybe we should break that out. So loan origination might take a credit check, so we're gonna have a credit check agent. And then we're gonna have another agent that does the paperwork. We're gonna have another agent that does the filing. And you start to break those down to subcomponents and have a coordinator across all that. That's becoming the predominant way that people are starting to really deploy agents into their environments. And for us, in a marketplace perspective, we look at that and say, okay, what does that mean for us? That means that we need to do better and better job of actually putting together these solutions into consumable, composable solutions, so that a product is no longer just a point solution, but it's typically multiple solutions. And it could be an agent, it could be a SaaS application, and it could be professional services. How do we put that all together into a private offer that then a customer can buy a full solution? And so we're going to continue to focus on that. Internationalization is just a continuous theme. We look at marketplaces as a big differentiator. If you think about a startup and how they go to market, when they start to look at going international, they have to figure out international taxation, localization, currency, and that's not differentiating value, right? They'd rather focus on their IP. And so from a marketplace perspective, we see that as a big value add. If we can do all that for our ISVs, then that becomes an even a greater reason to build on top of AWS. So even though internationalization, taxation isn't the most exciting thing, we think there's massive value add from a marketplace perspective. So we're going to continue to feed on that. We have new features coming out for our India marketplace, new functionality for Brazil, and so we're really trying to provide that localized experience, but then having a global marketplace at the same time.
Well, all the best of luck to you. It's great to catch up with you as always. Chris Grusz, Managing Director of Technology Partnerships. I'm Brian Westbrook at GeekWire Studios. Thanks for watching.